Hello. We have some really strong juggernauts in the room right now, and I'm really nervous about that. But I'll say I'm humbled for them to be in my presence. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna spend about 45 minutes with the moderation, and then once I prepare to close, we're gonna spend 20 minutes with the audience Q&A. Our intention is to be, respectful, intent, and to listen to, the cast and crew intently, let them respond, but to be thoughtful and engaging at the same time. So I want to first welcome up Tomas Voth, the production designer. Next up, Angela Lewis.
Sorry, the paper lady gonna take a minute.
Next up, Amin Joseph. Oh man, this is a good one. Michael Hyatt, who plays Cissy. Okay. Damson Idris. Next up is our Snowfall co-creator, who started this whole thing with Singleton and our guy Amadio, Dave Andron. Andrew. Let me know how to pronounce your name. Andron. Okay. Okay. Next up, we have Carter Hudson, who plays McDonald. All right, this heavyweight here, Walter Mosley. Next up, Isaiah John Leon. Last but not least, we have Gail Bean. All right. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for being here. It's sincerely a blessing. We want to start with you, Andron. Please give us an overview of the initial talk that led you, Amadio, Singleton, to collaborate on the show's idea and vital, because bringing together the storylines of the show's central characters, how they intersected and culminated into one cohesive narrative must have been a big undertaking.
It was a big undertaking. Look, the way this really shook out was the very original idea of this was Eric Amadio. And he then got put in a room with John Singleton, and of course John was like, yes, absolutely, that's that it's exactly the type of thing I should be doing. And those guys worked on it for a while. It was developed, ended up at FX. I had just finished a show with FX. I was brought in to help them, and the three of us then pushed the ball forward. It's incredibly ambitious, obviously still is, and it started as these kind of three legs of this stool: South Central, East LA, and CIA. We might have bit off a little more than we could chew initially, for all of it. And look, you've watched the seasons and see as we found ways to kind of condense it and bring the storylines together. As soon as you kind of got Franklin and Teddy together, you were kind of like, oh, here's the show, we're off to the races. Maybe that should have happened before the beginning of season 2. Hindsight's tough. But, look, it was always trying to keep this incredible cast, give them all things to do and make sure they have an opportunity to shine and get them all intersecting as much as possible. Because it's really, I'm saying the obvious thing here, but it really is an unbelievable.
Yeah, I was reading Mario's background. He grew up in Southeast Los Angeles.
Down there, I believe.
Yeah, Italian American, and all of his elements of his background were extrapolated into the show. I found that to be phenomenal. So when you guys were developing each of the characters, giving them depth, resolving like some of the creative challenges, walk us through what that was like with Singleton. What was that like? What was the pitch like when you guys went to the FX network? What was that like, just an initial iterative stage?
Well, they had set it up at FX when I was brought in, right? So I can't speak to those. There were many meetings and pitch reviews afterwards. And, the thing about John was, this is obviously his world. He spent his life telling me this story. It's wonderful we were able to kind of continue and finish telling the story that he devoted his life to. And, he knew these people, right? They were of him. He had this enthusiasm for it. And that is the thing that I always remember and go back to with him, was just how excited he got. And the pitches in the room that would land where he would just fall out of his chair, or the things that he would pitch that he was so excited about. This was him. It was just him.
Well, I will say you guys did an incredible job. Outstanding performances, outstanding technical execution, all the way down to the finale, and the way you guys ended it, to let us know in a sort of symbolic way that, the crack epidemic is still, it's still in a perpetual cycle, and it's still decimating the community. I found that to be powerful, and Franklin, your last performance, it was powerful, man. So walk us through the period, like when you guys were doing I think it was the original pilot that was helmed by Singleton, and you guys had to do a reshoot. How was that the entire crew, cast, everybody there, how was that? And I know Teddy, he became a central character at that point. How was that transition? And just walk us through that period and any sort of challenges you guys sort of overcame collaboratively.
Well, look, making television is very difficult. And oftentimes you take a run at something and it doesn't quite work, and you got to go back a little bit to the drawing board. And we were very fortunate having incredibly supportive partners in FX where, we went out and shot a pilot and it just didn't work, and there were a lot of reasons that it didn't. We had a few things that we knew did work. One of those things being, the guy on my left. Right? We had found at that point Damson, and so we knew we had the core, and we had something, and so we just got back in the trenches and redeveloped it, and we recast almost the whole thing except for him and Sergio. We had LSO as well, and so there was already a CIA officer when Carter came in. It was a different version of him, and we just reworked. You just work and try to figure it out.
So my next question is to Damson. I'm sorry for what I did earlier.
You're an interesting character.
I love you. Just understand that I am. Oh man, overwhelmed here. You go, bro. So I read in your LA Times interview, some of the challenges that you faced and sort of carrying out John Singleton's legacy, and the weight of that on you, but also how, like in the iterative stages, you had to convince John Singleton, to play this role.
Mama knows, but Mama's announced. Mama's dead.
Yeah. And there's a point where I think even in the article you mentioned, there's a point like that's when you become you again when you call Mom, because you delve deep into this character, and when you delve deep into the character, how you let go of that. And I know over time that has to, affect you in a certain way. So just walk us through what the stages were like in the initial stage. You get that okay from Singleton, and you carry all that weight with you, and then how you grew over time.
It's really interesting. You talk about the first pilot. It was really a mock test to me. I was just plunged into, hey, you're 23, you're from London, you're not from America. Come lead this show, right? So then we do the pilot, and I'm kind of learning as I'm going. And then we took a break to kind of revamp it, change the script, recast it. I went back to London, and the lovely gents at FX made sure I wouldn't get any other shows. And through that year, I think it was 2016 or 15, I was living my Franklin in London. I was telling my family, hey, my name's Franklin. And I was talking an American accent straight in London. And my mom's like, well, whatever, Franklin, go ahead and do your dishes. So when we finally came back, it was all Singleton, man. He took me under his wing, really. I remember I landed in LA, and he was like, I'm in Marina Del Rey, wear white, come to the boat. And then I was like, okay. And then I wore my favorite white outfit, the only white outfit I had, because I had no money. Showed up to Marina Del Rey, and he's like, we going to Tyrese's house. He always just took me everywhere. Took me to the Oscars for the first time, everything. And he really immersed me in the culture of LA. And just from that audition period, I auditioned like 8 times. And the main person that I wanted to convince was Singleton. This was his baby. And yeah, the whole process was amazing. I learned so much, and just when you talk about craft, how I approached Franklin is how I'm going to approach every character I play. And that's because of Singleton and what he taught me.
So a follow-up to you is, another thing you mentioned was sort of this like, it's like a global parallel between what we experience here in the U.S. in the inner cities, relative to what you experienced in the inner city when you were in London, right? And I remember my first trip to Paris. I landed in Paris.
You're like,
I was like, oh my God. And I remember seeing the graffiti, the dilapidated buildings, stuff like that. How did you draw from your experiences, there in London and extrapolate that into your character playing Franklin, here?
I looked out the window, man. Not really. I'm from Southeast London, and you look out the window, and all the themes of Snowfall, fatherless homes, drugs, police brutality, racism. So many of these themes I grew up with. Travel really is the cure to all ignorance, I think. And I would come over and I'll tell some of the guys over here, they're like, man, where your tea and crumpets? I'm like, no, bro. I've never had a crumpet in my entire life. And I don't live near the Queen either. I was able to take that, but culture is very important and authenticity is very important. And it doesn't matter where you're from. I say to actors today, if you are going to take on a character that isn't like you, put in work. Because if you don't, you're being disrespectful to the people from the board.
Nice. So, upon season 1's, finale, critics raved about Snowfall's initial success. Collider saying the writing of Snowfall is razor sharp, exploring the complexities of the crack epidemic with nuance and depth. And Viewer The cast of Snowfall is incredible, making each character feel authentic and relatable despite their involvement in the dark world of the drug trick. And this is ultimately, I would say, it was indicative of the success of the series. For everyone on this panel, what were some of the most memorable moments when you learned that the show was greenlit? How was that? Walk us through, whether you guys were made aware if each season was going to be renewed in advance or not. We want to know that.
We never really knew that it was being picked up, did we? Every season. We go on break and be like, yo, serious yet?
I think it was one. There was one season when I just remember being on the carpet and celebrating that we got picked up.
Season 2.
I don't know.
You serious?
Season 5?
After 4, it's gonna
Yeah,
have privacy.
after 3, we were good.
You were in the clear.
We went on, I think at that point we had built and built. The show had really found itself. It was getting better and better every season, and then frankly, it also switched from to Hulu at the same time, and the numbers went up dramatically, and all of a sudden it became like, all right, everybody pin your sale and go buy the house and have your baby, and we'll keep the thing going.
Everyone started having a baby.
We'll keep the thing going.
Some season, everyone was like, I'm pregnant. And I'm just like, I'm still pregnant.
Anderson, did you have to call your mom and just go, yo, like, we're in for the long haul, you have to just move here? How was that, man?
I like to imagine myself with whatever character I'm playing, and Leon, my best friend, that was improvised, but truly is, when I learned that Isaiah was going to be playing my best friend, I was like, yo, where do you live? He's like, I'm staying downtown. I'm like, bet, we moved into your building. Do you remember? Yeah. So, but my mother, she nurses me back to life really with these characters. And my wonderful new girlfriend had a daughter. And it's family and the people around me are the ones who really have been on this journey with me.
So some of the most provocative, I would say, riveting performances were in some of the arcs. I mean, I'm talking Leon and Wanda. I'm just gonna call you by your cast name, okay? It's easy. Thank you, Leon and Wanda, you guys make this transition and go down powerfully, man, powerfully. I found that really compelling because I was gonna ask beforehand, before I saw that, how responsible you guys felt as artists, in perpetuating Black image, in a certain way, and making that sort of transition like that gave you dimensionality. And I would say that also carries along John Singleton's legacy. He was good at doing that. All the women and boys in a row get in 3 dimensions. Even the gang members. I saw that was Scully and was surprised that Scully, out of everybody, turned into a monk. That was crazy to me. Walter, the episode that you wrote with Jerome, where Jerome is, spoiler alert, where Jerome is killed. Reverend Teddy. I mean, I don't know how you went from the CIA operative that was akin to Walter White and Marty Bird, in their initial iterations, and you turned into this really dark character. Same thing with you, right? Oh, geez, that point where you were talking to Louie, and she asked were you with the devil, and you said yeah, and just walked away. That was scary.
You are very interesting.
Thank you. And I really mean that. It was Cissy, oh my God. Y'all, that relationship there, in the final episode, talk to us a little bit about, how you guys prepare to make that so intimate, so delicate throughout the series, throughout the series. You, Franklin, you and Leon, you, Cissy, sorry. Oh my God, I'm good for I'm just cool, but power. Then we get the Uncle Jerome, oh my God, they're just, conflicted, really close relationships being conflicted and torn apart. How did you guys prepare for that over time? Like, I want you guys to talk in groups. Do you do so? Because I want to give everybody a chance to speak up. But yeah, what?
Yeah, do you guys want to just talk a little bit about maybe your character arcs over the course of this whole thing, getting the totality?
Yeah, I'm Amin Joseph. What up, y'all? Yo, it's a pleasure to be here, man. It's a pleasure to be here. I remember coming to Los Angeles, and I'm really, to tell the truth, I'm a little jealous of you guys, man. Every time I would see the big screen, the place where people were learning, when they show education in California, they show in USC. California is so breezy and dope out here. And John Singleton came to this school. On the East Coast, we all, it's cold, it's all dreary. And I just want to give you guys a shout out. And for you young actors and you young filmmakers, this is the breeding ground of our next stories. And I'm just happy. I'll give you a job because I'm a recently unemployed actor. And you guys got scripts. Get it done. But as far as the arc, I came in from the pilot episode and realized that this was a dynamic character. This guy was larger than life. He represented the story. So it took a lot of preparation. Similar to what Damson was saying, I took the time to engulf myself in this culture. I talked to as many people as I could. I walked the streets. I went to neighborhoods where I shouldn't have been, and I started a conversation. I delved into film, and I delved into documentaries and to music. Music was a big inspiration for me to get into this character and to recognize that he wasn't just a native to Los Angeles, but there was a great migration where a lot of us came to this state from the Texas, from the Louisiana, from Alabama. And what was the stories that was encapsulated in these type of people that came out here, a journey with my sister to come out here. So it was layering all of that. And then once we got the scripts, it was like, okay, here's the reality of now. And how can you be present in the moment with each script and have intention. And sometimes the story, because this is a well fleshed out story over 6 seasons, sometimes you had to just be present and rely on a lot of that work that you did to get you through the next scene, the next moment, a lot of high stakes and a lot of preparation during our hiatus as well. You do a season and you say, well, how can I be intentful? How can I learn more so I can be just as impactful? Because my castmates, the peers, castmates I worked with, and the writing staff would always challenge us. So that's kind of some of the things that I did over the seasons.
So, Louie, Leon, talk to us a little bit about how you guys approach the complexity of your characters. I know you grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, correct? And so making that transition, playing, Leon's character and PJ Watts, talk to us about how you approach the character, how you delve into that, and any sort of poignant moment that you and Wanda, or you, Franklin, you see, Cissy, you and Cissy's last moment, I cried. That was a lot, but, just talk to us about that.
For me, first thing I noticed about Leo was his passion, and how passionate about everything he was. And for me, in my personal life, I'm more like a recluse a little bit. Like I internalize my emotions. So when I saw this character, I was like, okay, this is a great outlet for me to let out my emotion. And so it was therapeutic for me. You know, it was therapeutic and like very dynamic. Thankful to the writing team, you know, so hard. Like it was beautiful. They always asked us how we felt about the direction where our character was going, and of course, I always trusted their vision because I'm like, y'all know what y'all doing, and I know what y'all doing. So it was just a beautiful team effort when it comes to this character. So
Was there, you know, in terms of preparation for your intimacy, your relationship with Wanda, how did you guys prepare that? Were there like before, like were there chemistry reads?
yeah, we had a chemistry season 2, before season 2.
Okay.
And when Gail came in the role, and we had a conversation prior to her chemistry with myself, and we just clicked. You know, we both from Atlanta. We actually went to the same acting school in Atlanta, but we never met in Atlanta, which is crazy. So we just had a lot in common. But I noticed, like, I treated that chemistry like it was my audition. I was off book. I was ready to give every actress, you know, every day I had. So when I saw that she matched my energy in her room, I was like, yo, Wanda, Gail is fire. So to me, it just fell on Gail perfectly. Yeah.
Okay. So Hudson, I want to ask you about your preparation. Hudson, Carter, Terry. Well, I read your thoughts on Singleton's legacy and variety article, and it was profound. I think I want to read it a little bit toward the end, but you know, how was your preparation for like how did you prepare for the complexity of your role and taking on such a large undertaking over so many series? I mean, so many sequels. Sorry.
I think that you kind of have to divorce yourself from the details of the thing, so because they're hard to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's meddling in geopolitics and selling narcotics, just things that I've never personally done. And try, it's pretty simple. Like this show could be about us, selling reams of printer paper. That ultimately everyone's still trying to fill the holes inside of themselves, and to find out how that they can get love from people around them. Now, most of them are deeply broken, so they do it in wildly destructive and violent ways, but that's relatable and approachable. We're all just broken little kids who try to find love, from something, and they've chosen this path. So you start there, and so you can kind of come into most scenes, and even if we've got guns pointed at each other, or Damson's pouring hot oil on my chest, whatever the day may be, you remember, you can sort of keep your feet on the ground and say, all right, this is a person who like me and just wants to be loved, and then you do what they write, which is usually pretty deranged and fun, and you gotta go. But also, I think too, I would say for what this show is and its darkness and its violence, and the zero-sum nature of most of the transactions, as a group, it was such a close-knit, lovely family that I think there's a lot of trust amongst everybody. So you could come to work and mostly you're kind of having fun, mostly having a good time, and that really helps too.
Cissy, message Michael. you've had an incredible career, and you're a powerhouse. You know, in terms of breaking into the industry, as a black woman, you know, I'm sure you navigated.
Can I give you a hug?
Yes.
Come on, Mom.
You can get everyone's name right now.
Come on, Franklin. Yeah.
Give everybody.
Oh,
Get my composure back. So, yeah, I'm sure you navigated a lot of challenges, you know, as you all did, you know, Gail. Talk to us a little bit about navigating those challenges of the black woman industry.
I'm sitting here and I'm looking at, forgive me, I'm hypersensitive, but I'm just looking at all of your faces and I'm overcome with the consciousness that each one of you was John at one point. You know, each one of you, he was sitting here like you guys are sitting here, soaking up knowledge, had a passion, had a drive, had a dream, just like each one of you have. I don't know how many of you are students and how many are just general public, but he was sitting in these seats, dreaming like you guys dream. And he brought all of us here. I'm very touched by that.
Cissy, you said, so you spoke about the complexity, but
Yeah,
how
you know,
John gave you.
I got it. I'm 53. I've been in this business since I was, I think I graduated grad school when I was 27. I was in New York. I'm a large black woman in a predominantly white man world. There weren't a lot of roles for me. You feel me? And, but I didn't care. I didn't mind if I had to eat government cheese because I knew that this is my calling. This is what I was supposed to do in this world. So no matter how many fucking no's I was gonna get, I was gonna keep going until I got there. You know, I'm not into the romance of, you know, I just auditioned. I just auditioned for any fucking thing that I could get into the room for, you know, and I got shit. And one thing. Huh?
Do you remember all this?
You always remember that fucking audition. Yes. Yeah.
So by the auditions, I was Frank Honore, and we was chemistry reading a bunch of potential sissies, and every single actress wanted 10 minutes with me to kind of go over the lines, and I went to Michael and I said, "Hey, would you like 10 minutes to go over the lines?" And she goes, "No, darling, save it for the room." I'm just gonna have a call right there. I'm like, that sounds like my mama.
Yeah. You talked about how Singleton aided in you discovering that truth in your voice.
When we first began this journey, we had a unique experience of being able to do press tours. When we wrapped the show, we would spend like a month or, going from city to city around the country and do this Q&A after the first, they would screen the first episode. And it was tremendous because I got to sit beside John and hear him tell stories about the shit that he had to go through to make Boys in the Hood, to make Rosewood, to make the films that we all know and love, that we take for granted. The pain he had to go through, the struggle he had to go through. And when I was in New York and I was, a student, taking the train, doing temp jobs and shit, just trying to survive, I would read biographies and autobiographies, Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, and I was very inspired by these African men, these African people, the power. But I had a brother sitting beside me, a living, breathing, whom I considered an icon, because I grew up watching his fucking movies, yes? And he's sitting here talking to me about the struggle of being an African man in this white industry, fighting to preserve the truth of his stories, when so many of them wanted to turn it into some whitewashed version of our story. And his willingness to say, fuck you, no, you're going to tell the story the way it's supposed to be told. To be in the room of an African man standing up there with his arrogance, standing in front of these motherfuckers, telling it was, I found my voice. You feel me? For the first time, because I've been hustling doing this shit for years. And you hit your mark, you do your thing, you collect your check, you get for the next audition, and that was my life. And then I'm sitting beside this fucking man who, this short, unassuming brother, and I'm hearing him talk, and I'm feeling his power. It helped me find my power. So that it completely changed how I perceived myself as an artist in this industry. I finally was able to learn how to say respectfully, fuck you. No, you are gonna listen. It's time for you to stop talking and you to listen to what we have to say, because you don't understand. We understand. This is our story to tell. And it made a difference. And I am so fucking grateful that I had that experience, because I didn't have that voice before. And it's so fucking necessary. If there is something that you get from Snowfall, if there is something you get from what you are learning in this school, in this whatever your majors are, please remember the power of your voice and how very, very, very imperative it is to use it. Because if you don't, you ain't got shit to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, not to always do that. I wanted to see how that was channeled into your character. Particularly in the series, powerful, and you gotta see it. You know where that power comes from her role now, and how she prepares for it. I want just so that I won't butcher Angela, can you talk to us about how you prepare for your role and sort of the complexities of the character's arc over the time. You being this powerhouse, you became this powerhouse over the series. And how it is affecting.
There's so logical.
I think in the beginning for me, understanding Louie was it was very practical. So I'm from Detroit, from the east side of Detroit, but what a thousand per time. But my experience was not typical or what one might think of as a typical inner city Detroit experience. I think my parents and my family did a really good job of keeping me busy so that I wouldn't fall through the cracks and, get distracted and all those things. So when I got the script or the scene really for my audition for Louie, it was the scene where she's watching the soaps and she takes off her earrings and, she beats the girl up off the porch and all that. And I'm like, First of all, it was a self-tape, and I was like, how am I gonna beat somebody up, but there's nobody there? What? And so my husband helped me with the scene, and so it was really about angles and like trying to make somebody believe that I really could fight, things like that. And then I got a call back, and I was like, okay, how am I gonna do this? And what exactly is SHRM? So I did a lot of research why one would do SHRM, and you see people around you doing SHRM, like what was the thing? And then I did a deep meditation into Louie and like trying to understand like who she is, because I didn't really have an access point to her, I felt like. And in that meditation, I just discovered that her life was very different from mine. We both had big dreams, but I was encouraged. I was told, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can go to these dance classes. Yes, you can, do all the things you want to do. And Louie was not. She was told no at every step of the way. And that really hurt my heart. And I wanted to protect her, and I wanted her to have an opportunity to be a human and to have something to say and to have something to live for and to not be disregarded. And I feel like so many people, so many characters like Louie we so easily disregard them and throw them away. And I just could not bear, if they offer me this role and I say no, who are they gonna give it to, and are they gonna understand that she needs to be loved, that she deserves to be loved, and that she deserves the opportunity for somebody to say yes, and that's what she's fighting for. I didn't know if they were gonna do that kind of work. So I said, if they offer me this, I'm going to take it. And they offered it to me after a week of making me wait.
Angela, how was it preparing you and Amin. How was it preparing, both of you? Like, how was it preparing? Because one thing that I loved about the series is the perpetuation of Black love in the series. I mean, Franklin, with Veronique, I think I said her name right, Leon and Wanda, and then you and Jerome. And you Cissy playing this like matriarch, Alton, powerful. How was that? How did you channel that sort of complexity and that intimacy between you guys' roles?
Yeah, that was from the beginning, right? That was from the audition. There's one thing that, I can come off as a big, black, gregarious guy, and it can feel mean. I can oscillate between some intimidation, yes. But I believe people have codes, and often the pariahs of society, the reason why they're charismatic is because oftentimes they have codes. There's certain things that just make up who they are. It's like down into the entreaties. And for me, for Jerome, that thing, his North Star was always Louie. And for me, selfishly, I committed myself to love a woman like she's never been loved ever on screen. That's what I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to love with all the flaws. That was the thing that made him more than a drug dealer. You know, that what made him more than just a pariah. And I came in with that intention. Because here I'm asking this woman to go outside and whip somebody, another black woman's ass. Right? And I had to find a way to, what would make that fun for him? What was he testing in her? And so if I was gonna go that far that way, I had to have an undying love. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what, I would do anything. And this is just testing the bounds of that. Yeah, you want some of this now, huh? Oh, we do this all day, too. You gotta listen, you gotta hold. I'm hold it. You gotta hold it, you guys.
When he said that to me, when he was like, they just gotta have this like powerful love, and I was like, fucks with this actor right here. So he was the one who set that foundation, made that, when you're in architecture, you had the blueprint for that. And we stuck by that the whole series. And I really appreciated that. I thought that was like the dopest choice ever.
So, we're getting short on time here.
I just want to.
I'm pulling them in right now. I'm pulling them in.
Okay, shout
I'm pulling them in. Tell them, hey, Helma, he's a powerhouse is here. It's powerhouse. You know, Tomas and Walter, what I'd say is like one of the most riveting things about the show was its authenticity. Like from beginning all the way to end. Because one thing that you get a lot of when you see these type of shows or movies is these caricatures, one-dimensional characters. You know, it's Looney Tunes. And you served as a consultant producer. What? And I would say, reading your work, you grew up in that in that environment, and you watched over time how things change. Can you lean into that sort of the veracity of that, the subject matter, and Tomas, my question to you would be in terms of your production design and world building. You know, that means a lot to the immersive experience that we feel and now we navigate through. And I know it's a large undertaking. So talk to us about that in terms of its authenticity and what goes through the process. And we're just aimed with that. So we can start with Mosley. Does he have a mic? Should we give him a mic?
Oh yeah, okay.
Does that work?
Yeah. You know what to say. You know, I guess because it's about John, and because John is a great man in a field that everybody's competitive, so it's really hard. I mean, the major thing you feel in the field is that everybody wants to pull everybody else down so they can get back up there, you know. And John is one of those guys who he was just up there. So I think that's really great. So I'll just tell you, like a little tiny little thing. 7.5 years ago, John called me, and he said, "Well, I'm going to do this thing. It's going to be about a crack epidemic in the '80s, and it's going to be LA. It's going to be our LA, and we're going to be doing this now. So I want you to be quite explainable, you know, all the stuff for the man." I'm like, "Yeah, man, sounds great." And I didn't know why he was saying it to me. I just saying it, and he said, "So I want you in the room," and I went, "What room?" Yeah, it was a writer's room. Without, you know, I don't write kabbalist. I don't know anything about it. And he said to me, well, that's the thing, man, just come in there and back me up. And so that's, my whole thing is coming in that direction. You know, it's like, okay, I'll back John up, because then it's a lot of fun. You know, and of course, it's very difficult because John was a filmmaker, a movie maker, a 90 minutes that should take up the whole universe maker. And, you know, and then there's television, which is not that at all. And really, you know, I'm trying to figure out both things, like in that, but they didn't really work together. So it was fun to be able to say, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we try this? You know, and, you know, I'm the oldest person in the room, so, you know, it's okay. You know, I can say these things. They kind of have to listen. You know, and so that, you know, that's just it. I mean, there's one other thing, which his mother did kind of mention about John. You know, John, you know, he was born in the hood, he lived in the hood, his office was in the hood, he was always there, except when he was out on his boat. And so he was, you know, people would come up to John and they would say, how you doing? You know, John, you remember this? Oh, yeah, I remember you. I said, how you doing? Well, I just got out of jail. You know, it's really hard to get a job when you just get out of jail. And he said, okay, well, you can come work for me. He said, well, you can be in the room. You know, you can be here and work. And if you couldn't, and like Rob said, and like his mother said, he said, if you can keep the job, you can have it. You know, that was his thing. And he did that every fucking day. I mean, it wasn't like he did it now and again. He did it with me. He did it with, you know, with that woman I'm thinking of. But he did it with all of these people all the time. It was because that's where he lived. That's who he was. That's what he did. And, you know, and it was not too hard to follow. I mean, it's really impossible to match it, but it's not hard to follow it, you know. And so, yeah.
Talk to us about, you know, your thought process behind, you know, getting into the setting, walking through the environment, making it, you know, from conception all the way to this tangible reality. You know, how did you continually retain its authenticity like that world building? Now, what did you draw from in terms of your production of that and to extrapolate it into what we saw?
We just give him so much time and money to do everything.
Resources, endless. I just had a blank checkbook. Not right. Well, the thing is this, you know, we in the other side have to give context to what these characters and these powerful actors do. And as you can see, it's not that easy with this crowd. They're so powerful, and the writing is so powerful that you really want to, you know, well, you have to come up to that level. And these guys set the level, so thank you. And because of that,
He's lying.
yeah, no, I'm not. No, thank you. Oh, yeah, we'll take it outside. We will take it outside. So all I can say is one thing about John Singleton. He came up to me very early on and said, and he really believed in me, and that gave me a lot of strength. He said, if you're a real artist, we need you to just go all the way. And Dave also was like, you know, I don't understand exactly how you're going to do it, but you got to give us this reality, but it also has to be powerful. So, 80s, you have to be, you know, true to the 80s. But one thing I wanted to say for whomever is in the field of design is that you have to go a little bit further than just replicating reality, because, you know what I mean, you have to heighten it, and you have to get somewhere with it, and it's hard to explain. But I'll give you the quick secret to this whole series of six seasons. We had three worlds. We had the CIA, we had the Hispanic, Latino world, and we had the African American world.
And I created a rule for myself of if it was going to be the Hispanic world, it was going to be primary colors, and it was going to be like really acid, strong colors. If it was going to be the African American world, it was going to be none of those, but it was all going to be jewel tones, like if there were gems. So if it wasn't going to be blue, it was going to be sapphire. It's not going to be yellow, it's going to be gold. If it would be red, it's going to be ruby. Well, much more complex colors, you know. That was throughout the whole thing. And then if it was the CIA, it was going to be monochromatic. It was going to be strong with the greens. And you know what I do is I kind of set it up, but then I need everybody else to be on board, from the DPs to everybody. And the great thing about this family, which is now a family, and I miss you guys, is that we all, there was this lack of egotistical bullshit that goes on in our industry. It was really, everybody was right in there with us, trying to understand everybody's perspective, and yeah.
We don't usually get our production designer to do battles like this. I wish we had them all the time. I just want to say that from the pilot episode, from the moment that I went into Jerome's home, it's really scary. And Jerome and Louie's home. It's really scary to step on the set for the first time. I'm looking across for this. What did you call yourself? Chocolate good looking?
I'll come to the accident.
But we're in this environment. And part of suspending your disbelief as an actor is the environment you're in. It's everything that you touch, it's everything that you look at. I mean, the way that you designed the set of Snowfall, it was immaculate, it was beautiful. Every place you went,
It's prepared in what he makes, man. And my custom process, I have to touch everything. If I've been in a place before, it's like a ritual, man. And he would always be like, "Jason, what you talking about that for?" Every time.
And you learned something about your character, right? You learned something about your own character based on the design that he has put out there. It's like, oh, Louie's into this. Oh, that's Jerome. Okay. You know what I mean? And it just helps to build your inner world as well as the outer world. So.
They say this before we get into the Q&A, because we gotta wrap this up. As far as like what John Singleton stood for in terms of that authenticity, you know, that Michael talked about, that I felt that through, you know, Boys in the Hood. I felt raw as was, and I mean, in my humble opinion, you know, Damson, you did an incredible job, you know, throughout the entire series. And what I wanted to offer to you was that, you know, that the bearing of all that weight, that responsibility, I would say this is the pinnacle of authenticity. It's the pinnacle of you making good on your promise and yielding an extraordinary return on John Singleton's investment in you. It was outstanding.
So now you're trying to buy me up at first.
And this is to the cast. I'll say this and we wrap this up. And then, you know, every last one of you had this, you know, a rawness, a conviction, a truth in your portrayal of each character, in the writing, in world. Everything you guys did, and I would say, you know, this pays great respect to John's family, and I would say also it helped yield an extraordinary return and investment into John Singleton's legacy.
Can we take a minute? Can we take a minute for a second? I know probably you guys already did because I wasn't in the room, but can we take a minute to honor the woman that brought this man here, raised him? Take a minute. Take a minute. Honor this woman. Single mother.
because she has that epitome of someone who has the character traits of goodness. And you have to understand, Kirsten's part, she's passionate. I love them all. I love every character that's in there. And I am so sorry that you guys did not listen to Walter Mosley or ask him questions earlier. That's my critique.
Harrison, Ward. All right, let's get it. Okay. Well, and let's be very correct. Complete to with gosh. Is the
How y'all doing?
Yes, baby.
What's cracking?
Hey.
I'm Dante. Just graduated last May. I'm director writer.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of young talent in the room, man. We have a lot of people cracking from USC, and I'm curious, just for the young directors and writers, if y'all could speak a little bit to, just the idea when you're working on a series, in particular, you work with so many different directors along the way. What would be some advice from the actor's perspective in terms of how a young director coming in on some of these first episodes that they get, how do you build up that trust and working with you and understanding your character, especially when you've been on the show for so long, they're just coming in. If you could just speak to that.
Trust your actors. Many directors come into a room already choreographing the scene. And I understand the need to do that, especially when you're a guest director on a series. I understand the need. You're afraid because you need to be able to control. You need to know what you're shot and make your day and time and stuff. But it would be a healthier collaboration if you gave your actors the room, the opportunity to create their space first. We understand that we have to come through here and we have to go through here, but leave room for the actors to create. Instead of just being your puppets, leave some room for true collaboration and listen to what they have to say.
I would also say that take acting classes. Be an actor. Talk to us like how we have our own little actor we talk. We know when someone's talk our language. And you just go right about it. Take the time to rehearse. And if you don't have that time, if you have the ability to get the actor's phone number, call them up and try to get a one-on-one. The more time you can get a one-on-one and know the intentions that the actor has, how they break down their process of breaking down, like how they think, I think the better time that you're gonna have on set.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. Hey everybody. Just blew my fucking away. The whole series. I only started 2 weeks ago. I never seen it, but I kept on seeing the bus poster, so I'm like, just watch this thing, see what's going. Anyways, I'm from Boston. I grew up in the projects. I don't need a pause. I'm just talking real quick. I'm stretching out. But I'm a crackhead, and I got since the '80s, and I got sober 22 years ago. And it's a so, as you see, this white guy got to say that. Trust me, it's the whole show. It's not easy to get out of that world as a dealer or a user or whatever. But I did, and I'm an artist. I paint. PJ the artist. Anyways, no, really. And about that though, I do a lot of commissions, and I do like pop art, like Warhol. I would say 2 out of 3 of my commissions is always about a black somebody, whether it's Kanye West or whoever it is, and then that makes me go like you were saying. I read about them more and find out about them more before I actually paint them, so I can paint a little bit about what I feel that I just read about that person. Anyways, also, so here's my question. The scene that blew me away was when I believe it was the cop that lived next door, the girlfriend's father.
Okay, right.
Dropped you off in front of the crack house, and everybody's like dead on crack. That was the most powerful scene for me through the whole series. So for you, and if a couple of other people could tell me their most powerful scenes, What was it, whether you were in the scene or not, what scene knocked you off your ass? Said, wow, that scene is nuts. That's the scene that did it for me. So, Franklin, the character, you're first. What was your most...
My man. It would be me, just that final frame of crying like a little baby in the city over there. I couldn't stop them.
The last one.
The last one.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Yeah, and just being with Lee, like I said, you know, my best friend, I'm proud of you. Those are the words that I wish my father said to me. So it came out, you know, it was being emotional. I can't watch the scene without crying. I normally just like walk out.
Right on.
And Isaiah was right there with me. So that's one that brings joy.
Teddy, what about you? Every one of them, right? What scene blew you away?
Well, I don't know what season it was, but there's one, I get really drunk and I go to talk to Franklin at the club, and my dad died like 24 hours before we shot that scene of COVID, and so, you know, we're there with masks and, you know, the whole fucking thing, and then, I don't know, you have moments where you feel, most of your days you're just working, you're just kind of doing, and then you have certain days, like once a year sometimes, where you think like, I'm not really driving a car, someone else is.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't really explain it, I don't know. But, you know, and again, and then there's, you know, it's Damson, so you feel like, okay, you'll take care of me, I can do this, I can let this ride take me, and if I go off, you'll be there to take my hand, you know. Yeah, so that was for me.
Okay, so next, let's keep it really brief to this point now.
Thank you for your work. Amazing project. Sister, grandchild, congratulations. I want to share something with Damson, the lead. I traveled from Nigeria, and there's conversation that's happening in Nigeria as well as here about people from the UK taking jobs from African Americans, blacks, okay? I want to tell you that what you're doing is in your DNA. You ain't taking nothing from nobody. It's in your DNA. We're connected. You're so good. You're so good. The whole cast is amazing. But in Nigeria, we had this conversation with African Americans and Nigerians about you doing this work. And you're blessed, brother. You guys are so wonderful, and please don't fall into that trap. Beautiful work. And congratulations to all of you guys. Thank you.
Hi, thank you all for coming out and spending time with us today. I just had a question for the people that wrote the show. Writing a TV show is pretty collaborative, it seems like. I'm just starting to get into writing. And I was curious what the best way to respectfully address differentiating ideas between writers is when you guys are writing the show with writers' room.
Oh, give us the tea.
I want to hear Walter Mosley talk a little more. So I don't want to hear about your arc in the room, because when you got in the room, you didn't know anything about the room, but then now you're an expert in the room.
So when you say differentiating, what do you mean exactly?
Since there's so many people in the writing room, if a couple of you have a different couple of ideas, and there's only one direction you could go, what's the most respectful way to address that between the writers?
Yeah, well, the one direction is usually the showrunner. So,
okay.
And so that's the thing. And I guess the only thing is for that alone is to feel comfortable enough to feel that you and everyone else can argue their point as far as you can go. Say, I really, if you really believe in something, then you stand behind it and say, well, we can't do it because of this, we can't do it because of that, we can't do it because of this. No, we need to do it, and in the end, the showrunner says, well, but we're not going to do it. And then you accept, so okay, fine, that's great. But I one of the things is that you have to allow everybody to work out as far as possible how they feel that the story would work.
Thank you.
But I think it's also important, baby. I mean, granted, I was not in the room, I'm not a writer, but I think it's important, sweetheart, for you to know that you were hired because of your greatness. Don't dim that because somebody doesn't agree with your point of view. It is your responsibility to stand up for what you believe in. People may not always agree with you, but your voice and your truth is necessary in that room. And it may not work all the time, it may get cut, but you have a responsibility to your truth, to write it, to speak it. And don't let the room intimidate you.
Right.
Should've.
Hi, everyone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, baby, we can.
My name is Jalen. I'm a really big fan of the show. My whole family is. So I just want to let you know that, like, everyone loves your show, even in a small town in Jersey. But anyway, one of my biggest things that I loved about the show is the fact that everyone seems to be, you know, I mean, there's some that are family, you know, sitting over here. And then you meet Teddy. Sorry, I don't know anyone's real names.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Teddy is Carter Hudson.
It's okay. Keep going, baby.
I'll Google it later.
No worries.
Okay, so one of my favorite things about the show is how, you know, it's like so seamlessly done that, like, Teddy and Franklin meet each other, they have no reason to trust each other, but they still somehow form this bond where it's kind of unpredictable. I think that's one of the best things about the show, that it's so unpredictable. You know, Franklin starts out not really knowing a lot and kind of building all the way up and then spiraling down at the end, which I thought was really interesting. It's kind of, we ended up like your father. I saw that somebody said that on TikTok, but anyway, I just wanted to know, like, how, what did you say?
Okay, what's the question?
What's the question? Sorry. The question was, I just wanted to know, do you think it was mostly writing, or do you think it was acting that really got you guys to feel so close, but also feel like you betray each other at any?
Probably mostly writing. I'd say like 98% writing, maybe 3.
99.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, that was obviously a joke. I mean, you know, finding common ground. Finding the common ground between these guys who seemingly have nothing in common felt like a really good thing to strive for, right? For us as writers. And then the honest truth is, when you have people like Carter Hudson and Damson Idris, you give them the best material you can kind of come up with, and they'll make it better. And they'll find those things, and they'll do the work, and it makes our job really easy, and it makes us look really good. Thank you.
How you everyone? My name is Dave Andron Jr. I'm a big fan of the show, big sports fan too. One of the things, like when we say like the dynasties, they always talk about, like, they knew when they got put together it was something special, but they didn't realize it until they couldn't enjoy it to the end. I wonder if, like, the first table read or getting the script, you know, even as an actor myself, I know when it's like, oh man, I'm all about to be in this. Was there something that you guys knew, like, was it season 1 that you knew, the pilot, the first table read, and then have you been able to enjoy it, like, even after season 1 where you would enjoy it, has it still hit home what you've done? Because this show, like, regardless of awards and nominations, is a powerful show. It's impacted a lot of people, and just the characters, you know, are so just memorable. And I think that's something that stayed with me, just something that I think up on. So I don't know if that's something that anybody can speak to.
I think I knew from the very beginning that we were doing something special, and the energy from the first table read was very electric and palpable, and I have fun every day at work. So, you know, I can't speak to, like, awards and all of that, but I know that I was very much in the moment in terms of coming to work and being with these guys and being with the crew and like I had a good time. So
I knew because I remember looking at the crew, like the cast aside, it's very diverse, of course, right? But I remember looking at the crew, like, man, everyone is from everywhere behind the camera. And at the same time, the industry was screaming, we need more diversity. And I was like, oh, my show is already doing that. So I kind of knew that, yeah, we had something special. And what you see on screen is testament to that. You know, the energy, the culture, the experience, we share it with each other and we're learning. And that's why we're able to build this stuff.
Before we get to our last question, I just wanted to ask a favor from everyone here. We didn't get a chance to take a picture with everyone all together out at the Step and Repeat, so I'm hoping that when we wrap after this last question, you could all remain in your seats for just a moment so that we can have everyone go and take this picture and then we can officially wrap the night. So if you don't mind, just please give us a moment to take care of that.
For this question gets asked, sorry, please do come up. I just want to give a shout out to our Jason Shirella, who was our editor, who did the pilot and who brought us all the way to the end. Who edited the finale, and frankly, handled the biggest part of episode every year. And again, the people who have been here with us since the very beginning. It's one of those jobs where, yeah, you're not doing step and repeats or whatever after the panel, but we do what we're proud here about, and we love them. And my favorite moment of a wrap party is when the editors show up and they've been staring at the actors for months and months and months, and the actors have no idea who they are.
Also, they're the best dancers too. Like we got some really good, our editors get down at a party.
They really do. They like to, they cut it loose. They really do. So sorry, I just wanted to give him a shout because he's dear and he's over there, and I'm gonna make him stand up now too. We love you. Yeah! All right, sorry, please.
Hi, my name's Ariel. I have a question for the actors as far as like this episode was very emotional. Like I was crying back there. As far as like the different takes and the different scenes, how do you keep it fresh for each take when you're doing things so very emotional?
Man, good question. Oof, we had a really tough moment in the Peaches scene when after the money comes, the 12 grand comes out, and I knew it was a rehearsal, and the director had said it was a rehearsal, and Damson let it fucking rip, and it was unbelievable. And about halfway through the take, we realized, holy shit, he doesn't know this is a rehearsal. We changed it. And it was, I mean, look, what's in there? And the director, I was like, ah! The laugh. It's that moment when he laughs, and then it turns into like the screen. It was that moment, and it was better take. It was unbelievable. What he gave you was incredible, and and he knew it when he came back over, and he was like, and we were like, hey, why roll the hands, and we were rolling. He was chest. So why don't you talk a little bit then? How about you got yourself back? Keep it fresh. Yeah, you keep it fresh, dude.
I'll talk about you.
Yeah, talk about keep it fresh, and then we'll get to that.
Just for me, my kind of technique to keep it fresh is failure, right? So I can't sleep at night if I don't give it my all. So if I do one take and everyone's like, oh, that's fire, I don't want to do it again, I'll try and fail on the take after. So then I beat myself up and I have to do good on the third one. And it's a weird technique. I probably shouldn't say it. Well, an interesting thing about keeping it fresh, right? And you talk about kind of new directors. Sometimes they don't know what they're doing, right? And this is fine. So by take 7, right? By take 7 or 8, they finally get the cameras right, and you kind of spend. So you're kind of exploring all the way through, but it's just to keep it fresh is trusting that director to communicate with you and to give you energy to give a new energy, no matter how many takes you have. Yeah. Michael has something to say.
No. I would say one thing that I do is I listen to my singing partner, because they're usually doing something different. There's some nuance that they maybe are not even aware of. And if you're listening, then you can respond to that. And so now everything is fresh and it's going back and forth. And if you have a wonderful cast of tennis players like I do, or I did, then, you know, it can stay fresh for a very long time because you're listening and you're observing and you're, you know, picking up on, did he just, you know what I mean? And so it's things like that for me that keep it fresh.
Bill says.
Man, that last scene with Damson was poor. It was on the day. It was a lot. You know, I had everybody coming up to me telling me, you know how big his home is? You better, that's your best friend. You better, you know, feel their emotion. But for me, it was deeper than the characters at that point. You know, I really look up to Damson. Like, that's really my brother. So, like, spending the last 7 years with like this group of people and saying goodbye to this story is like, it's hard. It's hard because it's deeper to me than Snowfall. It's personal relationships. I know I'm gonna still have after, you know, shit over. But it's like performing, you know, and telling this specific story with these people that I'm very attached to it. So that scene was definitely like my way of purging that goodbye with these characters. Yeah, and it was beautiful.
Alex, I know we're due on time, but I nobody asked what was next with everybody, and I don't know if we have time.
We're really at the furthest edges of the starting point. This is an extraordinary group of artists. Thank you for giving us so much of your time. We need to ask the panelists to join us briefly to take a photo. So please stay in your seats for just a moment while we do that.
I'll be soon.